Greetings friends, JawlessPaul here with another Witchfire video. Wanted to talk a little bit about status or elemental effects. They are decay, lightning, fire, and freeze. And for the most part, these are pretty self-explanatory. Freeze freezes enemies. Fire, it just increases damage against enemies. And for the most part, that's how it interacts with other elements. It just increases the damage. Lightning is interesting. Lightning can either be just a instance of damage, lightning damage, or it can electrocute an enemy. And electrocuting an enemy means that when you shoot it or deal damage to it, it shoots off lightning bolts, small bits of damage to enemies around it. But not all instances of lightning causes enemies to be shocked, and we'll kind of go over that a little bit. And then decay is just a damage over time, so it'll deal ticks of a certain amount of damage depending on the decay source. And yeah, different weapons inflict decay at different levels, and some of them have even variety, like the Rot Weaver. The longer you use the weapon, or the more you fire, more bullets you fire, the higher the decay damage against enemies. And so, yeah, between those four, freeze, fire, decay, and lightning, you can have a lot of different interactions. There is a graphic, an infographic that kind of explains this. I didn't make this graphic. It's been around for a while, but it talks about how they interact with one another. Lightning interacts with fire, and that the lightning damage, or the shock damage, I should say, when an enemy is burning and shocked, the lightning instances of lightning that spread out from the enemy do higher damage. With freeze, lightning can tick faster, so there's an internal clock for how quickly the lightning can shock other enemies. It's not completely dependent on the damage that it takes, but also this internal clock. And when an enemy is frozen and electrocuted, the shocks can happen faster. And then the interaction between lightning and decay is that each tick of decay also shoots lightning out. So that's kind of a unique thing. And I think lightning is a pretty interesting one. It's kind of hard to understand, though, because there's a lot of weapons that say lightning. For instance, Ricochet says a powerful lightning each time an enemy is hit with several ricochet bullets, but this does not cause the shocked status effect. Same with Kerfane and Eye of the Mad Woman. I don't believe these shock enemies. They just are an instance of lightning that just does a big bunch of damage. And it's a decent amount of damage, I think. But then there's other things that do cause the electrocuted effect. That is the Dynamo Ring. So Dynamo Ring is very powerful. Also, Hypnosis causes the shocked effect. In addition to a burst of lightning damage, the enemy is now shocked. So if you shoot an enemy with Hypnosis, shock them, and then switch to a fast attacking weapon, you'll get lots of lightning bolts. Oh, and then, Striga inflicts shock and on critical hits, and that is shock. That's not just lightning damage. That's the shock status effect. It's also a little bit confusing too, because like I noticed that this lightning is yellow. The word lightning is yellow, and this one, the word lightning is just kind of like a brown yeah, like a mauve. I don't know what color that is. Brown. And I thought that maybe that was what indicated it. But then when I went over here, this just says lighting and it's white, and this says lighting and it's white. So it doesn't really correspond. Iron Cross does electrocute the enemies. And in fact, I think that all of the lightning spells also cause electrocution. So shocking, this does not, even though it's called Shockwave, it doesn't shock. So that is just some information about lightning for you, and maybe some caveats that you don't know for sure if it's going to cause the status effect just because it deals lightning damage. Okay, so let's move on to fire. Fire is another simple one. It just increases the lightning bolt damage, and it increases the decay damage by a significant amount. It's not quite double, but it's a pretty big increase. Okay, I was going to just show an example of how fire increases the damage of decay, but I noticed an interesting effect that I hadn't read about before, and I just wanted to see. If we shoot this Holy Sister, it takes 6 damage per tick, right? So that's not new. But if I put that on and then I apply fire, increases it to 12. But then if I shock her as well, then suddenly it does 16. It does 16. I don't know why that is or what's going on there, but that's pretty cool too. So if you can get, oh hi, thanks for subscribing on YouTube. If you get shock and fire, maybe there's an additional effect that it increases it by having the 3 different effects. Anyway, just thought I'd show that off. And yeah, fire increases decay, and then maybe fire when you also have shock, it also increases the decay damage. But then noticeably, an enemy that's shocked, their decay damage doesn't increase, but only when it also has the fire effect on. Oh, I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. or if you in the comments seem to know why this could be happening that I'm not aware of, let me know. But then fire with ice is unique. Fire and ice causes it. You remove the frost effect, which makes sense, right? If an enemy is frozen and then you warm them up with some fire, they melt. But it also causes an explosion, so it hits enemies all around them and it staggers them a little bit, which is great. And then decay with ice. So decay is damage over time, and so the duration of the decay determines how many total ticks you get. So say for instance, an enemy gets decayed and it's 10 ticks of 5 damage, right? So a total of 50 damage. But if an enemy is frozen for the first 5 ticks of those of that decay, the decay does not actually the timer for the decay does not actually start until the enemy is unfrozen. So if they have 5 ticks while they're frozen, they'll have 10 more ticks after that, if that makes some sense. So you can have an instance where you inflict freeze on a bunch of enemies, maybe with ice sphere, and then you get decay on everyone, and that decay damage will just keep going, and the timer won't actually start until the enemies are unfrozen. So it just gives you a longer duration of decay, which is really cool. If you can combine like ice and lightning and decay, you can have a lot of lightning going off because the enemies are frozen, and the decay is also sending off little lightning bolts. Pretty cool. I will say though too, I talked a little bit about how lightning works. I don't think that there are any like burning damage that does not also burn the enemies. So burn is always going to inflict burn. Freeze is always going to inflict freeze. It's just the shock. Freezes, decay, causes them to decay. And this is really important too. I think these arcana that you find for the different elements really are impactful. Like they make a huge difference. And so the more different types of spell prophecies that you can include, the better. And prophecy of variety can be anything, so that can be spells as well, right? So kind of keep an eye on those things, and make sure you don't want to put a prophecy of ice or water if you don't have a freeze spell or weapon, because then the prophecy will fail. So just keep an eye on that. But that's kind of how the elements interact with one another. I just wanted to make a quick vid to explain this because it's not obvious, and I had to do some looking up to figure out how those things worked. There's also the stun status effect, but any instance of damage I think kind of builds up. There's like a stun. Enemies have like a stun health bar that's invisible, that you don't see it, but it's, if an enemy's stun meter goes down or fills up, however you want to call it, then it causes the enemy to stagger or be stunned, and enemies take bonus damage when they are staggered. So that's an important effect as well. And any weapons that talk about how they like they stagger an enemy, or they increased stun damage, that is going to increase or just gonna bring them to that stunned state faster. And typically heavier weapons cause more stun damage than lighter weapons. All right, friends, thanks so much for watching this quick video about the elements and how they interact with one another. I hope it was interesting to you. If you're curious about other aspects of the game, I've got lots of Witchfire videos out there. Go ahead and check them out. And I stream on Saturdays. Most Saturday mornings I'm streaming, and sometimes I stream Witchfire, not always, but yeah, come check it out. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.